attractive to look at and sturdily built, the Fujifilm X-Pro1's design and operation are, for the most part, very well executed. There are only a couple of facepalm level annoyances. While the camera's not particularly compact, it is a nice size for people who like a little heft, especially if you're used to shooting a DSLR. I do wish the grip were a little deeper, though. You dial in both shutter speed and aperture with a real old-fashioned aperture ring on the XF lenses. Putting the ring in A enters shutter priority mode. Setting the shutter speed to A puts you in aperture priority. If you've got both on A, you're in full auto. My one complaint with this scheme is the slavish adherence to history means that you're stuck with a full-stop shutter speed in shutter priority mode. I've gotten used to shooting at speeds like an 80th of a second. On the other hand, the lens's aperture dial does support third stops, which is a really nice feature. Overall, I found the control layout and button design comfortable. It's kind of annoying that when you hit the macro button, you then have to arrow over to macro mode. It should just toggle. There's only a single user assignable control as well. And given that there are multiple relatively unused controls, this is a bit disappointing. On the upside, the X-Pro1 has 7 custom setting slots that are easily accessed via the quick menu. Like the X100, the X-Pro1 uses a hybrid viewfinder that can swap between a reverse Galilean type with an electronic overlay and a straight EVF. The View Mode button on the back rotates among the optical and electronic viewfinders, an eye auto sensor, and this switch on the front toggles between the optical and electronic viewfinders. My biggest overall problem with the design is the placement of the SD card slot in the battery compartment, which just doesn't work well for advanced and pro photographers who frequently take the card out. But even worse, the X-Pro1's battery compartment is right next to the tripod mount, and pretty far to the right rather than in the middle. And this makes it a pain to pull the card when the camera's mounted on a tripod. Plus, it means you can't even open the battery compartment when using one of those tiny tripod mount attachments for a sling strap. Also, the battery isn't keyed to a particular direction, so it's really easy to put it in backwards, and then wonder why the camera won't power on. As for features, the X-Pro1 provides the basics and nothing more. Perhaps even a little less, given the price. There's no on-camera flash, and it's got a fixed LCD. The camera uses a new sensor, the 16-megapixel X-Trans, which in combination with mostly intelligent JPEG processing delivers excellent photo quality across low and mid-range ISO sensitivities. And in combination with the sharp XF lenses, very good detail resolution, color, and tonal range. The sensor itself has a large latitude in that I was able to shoot a couple of ISO stops down from where I might normally be in low light and still get clean images. In night shots, the high ISO sensitivity images did look more traditional with that soft, grainy, and hot pixel look. But the fact is, with the X-Pro1, you really don't need to shoot at those settings as often as you usually do. The camera also produces consistent and appropriate exposures, and with one exception, the colors are both accurate and vibrant. The video is a mixed bag. It's sharp, with bright colors, and in low light the noise looks pretty good. But it otherwise displays a cornucopia of aliasing, moire, and rolling shutter artifacts. While the autofocus has trouble staying locked, the lenses are nicely designed for manually focusing. Unfortunately, the X-Pro1 is also disappointingly slow thanks to sluggish image processing and a finicky autofocus system. The most frustrating aspect is that the better lens, the 35mm, is much slower to focus than the 18mm lens, which simply isn't as sharp. Ironically, the continuous shooting performance is pretty good. Stellar photo quality and a beautiful-looking, mostly streamlined design make the Fujifilm X-Pro1 a really attractive camera for deep-pocketed enthusiasts. But poor autofocus performance and a bare-bones feature set make it harder to recommend for a general audience than it should be. And a new sensor design means raw processing support will take longer to appear than I'd like. It's a nice compromise if you can't afford a Leica but want to approximate the experience and get some stunning photo quality to boot. I'm Lori Brunin, and this is the Fujifilm X-Pro1.